So let's say you're working on something. It's like, let's say you're designing a poster, and you sit down and you're going to try something. Let's say you're going to try some sort of image making technique in Photoshop. Like, you have a clue of what you're going to do. And you sit down to do it, and within 5 minutes, you have a happy accident that feels totally right for the project and is almost certainly the thing that you should use as like the visual anchor for this poster. Planes overhead, hopefully it's not too disruptive. First off, I would say that almost never happens. I think the happy accident is like a unicorn. Like, we have a consensus that it's a thing that we all understand, but how often does anyone have a happy accident that they can actually use? I have a folder on my computer of screen grabs of things where you're like, you know, you're doing something and it breaks or it doesn't work right. And you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I make a screen grab of it because it's so rarely relevant to what I'm working on. But once in a great while, you might have that happy accident that's perfect for the thing that you're actually working on. So, but let's say it does happen. I think even rarer than it happening is someone using it because maybe it doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like you have to work for it. It's almost like it's cheating. And I think one of the benefits of having a really rich process where you're not focused on, say, any one particular concept. You're focused on the project as a whole, and you're working through your research and your ideation and your sketching and all these different phases of it. Having that rich process makes it much easier to feel like you've earned that happy accident. Like if you have that 5 minutes in, you have that happy accident, man, I'm like directly in a flight path. Sucky. So having that really rich process where you've already been getting intimately acquainted with the project or the content, I think can make it where you can appreciate that happy accident and you can be like, oh my God, that's the solution right there. At the same time, knowing that maybe you're still going to want to investigate other stuff, whether it be because you like to have contingency plans for your clients or just because you enjoy the process of exploration so much. I just find that having that depth to the process just makes it really easy for something to happen and to be like, oh, that's awesome. Problem solved. Because it's not about the accident. It's not about the 5 minutes it took for that or the weird move that you did that generated that form or that concept, but it's about the point at which you started the project and having that sort of intimate understanding of it that lets you not feel like it's cheating, but instead feel like it's a gift. Like, it's like karmic payment for hold on, I got cold tears. Oh, it's like spring, but it ain't there yet. It's like a karmic gift. Like, you put in the work and lo and behold, you get that payment in terms of that awesome happy accident. I think that's so much easier to do when you've decided that your projects are not about the effort it took to make something, but the depth of conviction and commitment to the process. So it's kind of like part one. a really rich process just makes you appreciate what happens a lot more. You earn the things that happen. And it also makes it where you're able to recognize what's when that gift arrives, because it's incredibly rare. And I think without that depth to your process when it does arrive, because it feels unearned, you're just like, oh, that was cool, and then you brush it off and you move to the next thing. So that's part one. Part two about these like processes and these happy accidents is that it's almost like also learning how to flip a switch in your brain, which says, let's say for whatever reason you have no depth to your process, which is fine if it works for you, and you hit that happy accident. You being able to look at that situation, understand that it actually is rare, and then go, whoa, I just lucked out. Because like, man, again with the cold tears, it just doesn't happen that often. It's, I don't know. The process thing makes it luck favors the prepared, but also start to trust that that happy accident is rare, and be smart enough to recognize when something falls in your lap. You know what I mean? Like, if you're on a lonely road, no one around, you haven't seen a car in an hour, and you find $100 bill, you don't start going, oh man, I have to find the owner of this $100 bill. Where could this have come from? I should maybe I should just put it under a rock and leave it there. You kind of go, man, I just found $100. Because it's like, this planes, this sucks. Because it's so obvious that like that's such a rare occurrence. It's so, it's just not going to happen that often, especially when there's no one around. Like you can't even pretend to be like, oh, maybe that person dropped it. That's what the happy accident should be like. It should be like the $100 bill on a lonely, deserted road. Now, back to process. One of the things I've kind of trained myself to do is to not worry about if something is necessarily good, because I'm focused on the big picture of that process from start to finish. So if I'm working on something and at the very last minute, man, light sucks. Hold on, let's try to darken it up. If at the very last minute I discover I have a happy accident, or I have a weird whim, super minimal design idea, I don't really worry about whether it's good. Like, as long as it's intriguing to me, I'll run with it and throw it in the mix. And that's because I'm trying not to view any individual piece as the thing I've worked for. I'm trying to view that whole continuum of work as the project, as the effort put into it. And frankly, my ideal situation is that I spend way more time up front on the research, the thinking, the whatever, the strategy, the mood boards, the experiments, than I do on what looks like design. I would like it to be like a 3-to-1 or kind of 4-to-1 ratio. For every like 10 minutes spent designing, I'd like to have spent, say, 40 minutes making stuff. So because of that, like, again, that depth, that commitment, whatever it is, it gives me a lot more confidence to own what comes out of it. And one of the things I kind of have to put at bay is the idea of, like, is this good or is this good enough? I just try to focus on, like, if each step of the way is quality, then the end result is quality. That's my belief, 100%. And then maybe the biggest obstacle I face is the feeling of of, did I do everything I could? And then I try to look at it and be like, I did everything I could in the time I had to do it. And as long as I did my due diligence and paid attention to the final context of how that work is going to live, then it must be good. It's a kind of fine line to play with. But again, a rich process earns you a lot of confidence. So those are some things to think about. This is kind of a long one. My fingers are pulsing and freezing. So we're going to cut it short here. Thanks a lot for watching as always.